The whisper of a threat, the Galactic Council chamber was filled with light and voices. Thousands of alien leaders sat in their seats speaking in many tongues, debating loudly about trade, borders, and power. The chamber was always noisy, full of pride and arrogance for centuries. This was the place where the most powerful species ruled the galaxy. At the far end of the chamber, a small hologram shimmered into existence. It was the image of a trembling alien scout. His voice echoed through the great hall. "We have seen something unnatural. Ships moving through the void. But they do not reflect the stars. They eat the light. They move like shadows across the dark," the council laughed. Their voices rolled like thunder across the chamber. Some clapped their claws, others clicked their mandibles in mockery. "Humans," one of the elder delegates sneered. "It must be humans, they always try to look larger than they are. They were given a planet of dirt and they still dream of power." But the scout shook his head. "No, this is not a trick, not an illusion. We sent a fleet to investigate. They vanished, no wreckage, no signal, only silence. A silence that eats everything." The laughter grew softer. The words hung in the air like a shadow creeping across the hall. Still, many refused to believe the humans were new to the stars. A young species barely climbing out of their cradle. To imagine they could build ships strong enough to make entire fleets vanish was madness. Whispers moved through the chamber. Rumors spread like fire. Some said the humans had discovered a new element. Others believed they had found ancient weapons left behind by a dead empire. Some even claimed they had captured technology from the edge of the void. The High Speaker of the Council, a tall and shining figure of crystal, struck the floor with his staff. "Enough!" His voice rang through the hall. "Humans are weak, they are small, they are nothing more than noisy children. There's no need to fear shadows." But in the shadows of the chamber, a few remained silent. They had seen the growing reports. Stories of human colonies that expanded too quickly. Ships that traveled further and faster than expected. Weapons that no alien spy could fully understand. The silence of the vanished fleets spoke louder than the laughter. On a distant outpost at the edge of council space, another report came in. A watchtower detected a distortion. The stars bent and flickered as if swallowed by a black sea. Shapes emerged, vast, unnatural shapes. They were not like ordinary warships. They carried no shine, no reflection. They were blacker than the void itself. Their forms swallowed light, leaving only the outline of terror. The watchtower commander sent an emergency signal to the council. His voice shook as he spoke. "They are coming. They do not answer. They do not broadcast. They move in silence. We cannot scan them. Our sensors see nothing but emptiness, yet they are here, filling the sky." The signal ended abruptly. Nothing more came, no explosion, no alarm, only silence. Back in the council chamber, the whispers grew louder. Fear had replaced laughter. The elder delegate who mocked the humans earlier now kept his mouth shut. His claws tapped nervously on the table. "If this is true," he muttered, "then the balance of power has shifted." The High Speaker slammed his staff again. "Lies and fear," he shouted. "Humans cannot challenge the council. We are the rulers of the stars," his words echoed. But his voice carried less strength now, less certainty. A younger delegate rose, her voice steady. "We have underestimated them before. Perhaps we should not laugh so quickly this time. Perhaps the whispers are true. Perhaps the humans have found a way to command the darkness itself." The chamber grew silent for the first time in centuries. Silence ruled the council floor, not because of power, not because of order, but because of fear. Far beyond the chamber, hidden in the depths of the void, the human fleet moved slowly. Their warships were made of something no alien mind could explain. They were cloaked in dark matter, absorbing every particle of light, every wave of energy. They were not ships of steel and fire. They were ships of silence and shadows. The captains of those warships spoke little. Their orders were clear. They were not here to ask for respect. They were not here to beg for a seat among the stars. They were here to remind the galaxy that humanity was not weak, not small, not blind. In the chamber of the Galactic Council, the whispers became questions, the questions became fear, and the fear became silence. The day was coming when the whispers would turn into screams. The day was coming when the shadows would stand before the light. The whisper of a threat had already begun, and soon the galaxy would know the truth. First shadows on the edge at the far rim of council space. Stars burned dimly over a lonely patrol fleet. The ships drifted across the borderline, scanning for smugglers, pirates, or wandering debris. For years, These patrols had been dull, uneventful, but this night was different. The commander of the patrol, an alien named Carveth, stared at his screens. His eyes twitched as strange signals appeared. The scanners were confused, detecting shapes that did not exist, and empty space that felt heavier than it should. Recalibrate, he ordered his crew. Run the scan again, but the result was the same. On the edge of their sensors, massive outlines moved. They were not lit by engines, not glowing like normal ships. They were shadows drifting through the void, silent and endless. One of his officers whispered, "Commander, there is nothing to reflect the stars. They are devouring the light itself." Carveth clenched his jaw. "Send a probe," he ordered. A small drone shot into the darkness, carrying bright beacons to scan the unknown. The crew waited, watching the signal feed for a moment. The drone floated between the stars, then suddenly its light bent, twisted, and vanished. The screen went black. "Signal lost," the officer gasped. Carveth's fleet tightened formation. They powered their shields, weapons hummed. Fear crawled across the bridge for centuries. They had seen warships of many empires, but never anything like this. Then, without warning, the darkness moved. Massive silhouettes emerged, towering, unnatural. Like mountains gliding through the void, they swallowed starlight, bent gravity, and pulled every eye toward them. There were no engine flares. No communication signals, only silence. Carveth whispered to himself, "Humans." His voice was thin, almost broken. The crew shivered. Some had never even seen a human. To imagine them commanding such terrifying machines felt like madness. And yet here they were, a fleet of shadows where no fleet should exist. The patrol ships prepared to retreat. Carveth barked orders. "Send an urgent signal to the council. Inform them the humans have crossed the border." The communications officer began the transmission. But halfway through, the signal scrambled. Static roared through the speakers, then silence on the screen. One of the dark shapes shifted. Something pulsed within it, like the beating heart of a giant. Then in an instant, Carveth's lead ship vanished. No explosion, no wreckage. One moment it was there, and the next it was gone, erased from existence. Panic filled the patrol fleet. "They are erasing us," one shouted. Carveth roared back. "Hold formation," but his voice shook. He knew they were already lost. The dark matter warships did not chase. They did not fire wildly. They moved with slow, deliberate purpose, one by one. The patrol ships blinked out of existence, consumed by silence until only Carveth's vessel remained. He stood at the window, staring into the abyss. His body trembled as he whispered, "The galaxy will never believe us." His ship's systems flickered, lights dimming, then everything went dark, far away. The Galactic Council received only fragments of the signal. Broken words, a scream, and then nothing. Delegates argued again. Some claimed it was an accident, a malfunction. Others swore it was proof of the human fleet. The chamber echoed with fear, but still some voices laughed, refusing to accept the truth, but the truth was already spreading. Across colonies, across trade routes, whispers grew. They spoke of human warships made of living shadow, ships that erased entire fleets without a sound. Stories said they carried the weight of black holes within their hulls. They were not just warships, they were nightmares given form. In the human fleet, the captains spoke quietly, their faces lit by dim lights. "The council will know we are here," one said. "They will understand soon." Their commander stood still, his voice calm. "Do not rush. We are not conquerors. We are not invaders. We are simply the reminder. The galaxy forgot what silence can mean. We will remind them." The fleet drifted deeper into council space, silent, unhurried, unstoppable. At the heart of the galaxy, the council chamber shook with debate. Delegates shouted, pointing claws, tendrils, and wings. The high speaker's crystal body glowed with anger. "Humans cannot wield such power. This is fear, this is rumor," he insisted. But deep inside, even he felt the cold. For the first time, the council could not dismiss the whispers. The shadows had crossed the edge, and the galaxy had no answers. The first shadows on the edge had appeared, and nothing would ever be the same. The gathering storm. The Galactic Council chamber was no longer filled with laughter. The echoes of vanished patrol fleets had reached every corner of the stars. Delegates gathered again, their voices sharp, their bodies restless. They argued not over trade or territory, but over survival. Holoscreens floated in the chamber, showing fragments of broken transmissions, a patrol commander's scream, A flash of black silhouettes, and then silence. Again and again. The same evidence replayed. Silence swallowing everything. Some delegates shouted in fear. They are coming closer every day. More ships vanish at the border. If we wait, they will reach our worlds. Others sneered in denial. It is nothing but human tricks, shadows and whispers, nothing more. The High Speaker's crystal form glowed faintly. He raised his staff. Humans are young. They cannot create such power. We should not tremble like children. But his voice did not carry the same authority as before, beneath his shimmering surface. Small cracks began to glow. A delegation from the outer colonies spoke next. Their leader, a reptilian creature with scarred scales, slammed his claw on the table. You laugh while my fleets disappear. You mock while our people die. If you wait longer, there will be no colonies left. His voice trembled with rage and fear. The chamber roared with argument. Some demanded war against humanity. Some begged for peace talks. Others whispered of surrender before it was too late. No decision was reached. Only chaos filled the chamber. Far beyond the noise of the council, the human fleet continued to move. They did not rush. They advanced slowly, deliberately, like predators circling prey. Their warships devoured the stars behind them, leaving trails of nothingness. To the galaxy, they looked less like machines and more like living voids. Inside the flagship, the human commander stood in silence. His crew waited for orders, but he spoke softly. Not yet. Let them come to us. Let their fear grow. The storm must rise before the silence can fall. Back in council space, entire trade routes were abandoned. Merchants refused to travel the border lines. Refugees fled from colonies near the human path. Worlds once filled with light now grew dark with fear. Rumors spread like a virus. In the marketplaces of distant stars, people whispered, "The humans have captured black holes." In the slums of alien megacities, others murmured, "Their ships are alive, feeding on the void." Some even claimed to have seen humans walking in darkness, their eyes glowing with the fire of stars. The council tried to suppress the fear. They censored transmissions. They punished those who spread panic. But fear is not so easily silenced. It traveled faster than any fleet. A secret meeting was called in the lower chambers of the council. Away from the public, away from the records, only the most powerful leaders were invited. There, behind sealed doors, they whispered what none dared say aloud. "What if the humans are not bluffing?" one asked. "What if these ships are real? What if they are unstoppable?" another delegate hissed. "Then we must unite all our fleets, all our weapons, together we can crush them." But an older voice replied, "We tried that before, against lesser threats, against the swarms, against the machines, and even then we barely survived. What chance do we have against ships that erase fleets without firing a shot?" Silence followed. The silence was heavier than the arguments. For the first time, the leaders of the galaxy realized the truth. They were afraid. Far away, another patrol station lit up with alarms. Sensors screamed. Space twisted. Stars vanished behind a moving wall of shadow. The dark matter fleet had arrived. Station weapons fired desperately. Beams of plasma, missiles of fire, but nothing touched the shadows. The weapons vanished before reaching their targets, absorbed into nothing. The station sent one last transmission, a single sentence before the signal collapsed. "They are unstoppable." Then silence. The report reached the council within hours. No one laughed this time. No one mocked. The arguments grew weaker. The fear stronger. Delegates glanced at one another, waiting for someone else to speak, waiting for someone else to lead. But no one did. The storm had gathered. The galaxy trembled beneath it. And in the silence between words, everyone knew humanity was coming. The first display of power. The stars over council space glittered in silence. Then, like a curtain being pulled back, they disappeared. Entire constellations blinked away as the shadows arrived. Humanity's dark matter fleet had crossed the final border. The Galactic Council's Grand Defense Armada waited. Thousands of ships lined in formation, shining with lights, weapons glowing. They were the pride of the galaxy. each vessel forged by centuries of war. Tested in endless battles, their commanders believed no enemy could break them. But as the humans appeared, silence spread across every channel. The enemy did not roar, did not broadcast threats. They simply drifted forward, vast and dark, 100 titans of shadow swallowing the light. "Fire!" the council commander shouted. His voice echoed through the fleet, and the stars lit up. Plasma beams, antimatter warheads, particle lances, all unleashed at once. The galaxy's most powerful weapons filled the void, but nothing reached. Every beam bent into darkness. Every missile dissolved into nothing. The shadows absorbed it all. Weapons designed to destroy planets were swallowed as if they never existed. On the council flagship, panic rose. "Impossible," one officer cried. "Our weapons, they do not exist to them." The commander's claws shook. "Keep firing." But his voice carried no strength. Then one human ship moved. Slowly, silently, it turned its black hull toward the nearest alien battleship. A pulse of dark light rippled across space. It was not a beam, not a missile, not fire, just a wave of silence. The alien ship vanished, not destroyed, not broken, simply erased, as if it had never been. The council fleet froze. For the first time in history, thousands of ships stopped firing. Fear choked their commanders. What weapon could erase existence itself? Inside the human flagship, the crew remained calm. Their commander stood with hands behind his back. "One strike is enough," he said. "They will understand." Back in the council chamber, chaos erupted. Delegates screamed as live feeds showed their mighty fleet collapsing without battle. One after another, ships disappeared, swallowed by silence. Not explosions, not wreckage, only emptiness where proud vessels once stood. The high speaker's crystal form cracked louder. His voice shook as he shouted, "This cannot be. This is sorcery. This is against the laws of the universe." But his words rang hollow. Even he knew it was real. A brave delegate, wings trembling, rose to speak. "This is no illusion. This is the power humanity wields. If we resist, we will all vanish into their silence." The chamber fell quiet. Leaders who once laughed now looked at one another with fear. They had mocked humanity as children, weak and reckless. Yet those children now stood at their gates with weapons the galaxy could not understand. In the void, the human fleet stopped. They did not advance. They did not fire again. Their message was clear. One display of power was enough. On every world, across every star system, the footage spread. Citizens of empires trembled. Soldiers refused orders. Merchants abandoned routes. Families whispered in fear. The humans have become shadows. In the dark bridge of the human flagship, the commander spoke again. "They know now." His voice was calm, almost sorrowful. "We showed them only a glimpse, but the storm has passed. Silence will follow." The council armada, broken without a battle, drifted aimlessly. Commanders begged for orders, but no one dared attack again. No one dared to move. The galaxy had witnessed what no species could deny. The first display of power had ended, and the galaxy knew. Humanity was no longer a whisper. Humanity was a storm. The human voice, the void, was silent after the battle, if it could even be called a battle. The Galactic Council's armada, once a symbol of pride and dominance, now drifted in fear. Hundreds of ships floated still, none daring to move, all waited, breath held, eyes locked on the black silhouettes of humanity's fleet. The humans had fired only once. A single wave of darkness had erased a battleship. That one act had broken the courage of empires. Now the shadows lingered, unmoving, watching. Inside the council chamber, chaos filled the air. Delegates shouted over one another. Some demanded surrender. Others screamed for retreat. A few still tried to deny what their eyes had seen. The high speaker struck his staff again and again, desperate to restore order. But even his crystalline body trembled. Then the chamber fell quiet. A signal cut through every frequency. Every screen, every projection, every corner of the galaxy saw the same thing. A single dark warship. Its hull a shape that devoured light. From its command bridge, a human figure appeared. The human commander stood tall, dressed in black. his face hidden beneath shadows. His voice was calm. Deep and steady, he did not shout, he did not boast. Yet every word struck the galaxy with more force than any weapon. "We came not as conquerors," the voice said. "We came not to burn your worlds, nor to enslave your people. We came to remind you." The chamber trembled as the words echoed. Alien leaders leaned forward, unable to look away. The commander's voice continued, "For centuries you mocked us. You dismissed us as children, weak and unworthy of the stars. You laughed when we stumbled, you watched when we bled. But we are not children. We are humanity, and we do not beg for a place. We claim it." Gasps echoed through the council. Some clutched their seats, others lowered their heads. The human's voice pressed on, calm yet merciless. "We built our fleet in silence in the dark corners of the galaxy where none of you dared look. We carved weapons from the bones of stars. We bent matter and shadow until they became ours to command. Not to destroy, but to remind the galaxy that silence has a voice. And that voice is ours." The council chamber was silent. No delegate dared speak. No empire dared interrupt. The commander's words grew sharper. "We do not seek your thrones. We do not seek your crowns. We ask for only one thing: respect, treat us as equals, or face the silence that you have already witnessed." Every world, every fleet, every colony heard it. The words burned across the galaxy. On alien streets, whispers spread. The humans have spoken. The shadows have spoken. The high speaker of the council clenched his staff, his body flickered with cracks of light. For centuries his voice had ruled the chamber. But now he could not answer. His tongue was dry. His heart filled with something he had never known: fear. The human commander paused. The silence stretched across the stars. Then he spoke one final line. "The choice is yours." The signal ended. The screens went black. The shadows of the human fleet remained. Still and watching, waiting for an answer. In the chamber, no one spoke. No one dared. For the first time in the history of the galaxy, the rulers of countless worlds were silenced by a single human voice. Outside, the shadows shifted slightly, not advancing, not retreating, just there. Endless and patient, their silence was louder than any war cry. The galaxy had heard humanity's voice, and the storm it carried was not of fire, but of silence. The silence of the council. The chamber of the Galactic Council had never known such silence. For centuries it had been filled with shouting, laughter and arrogance, but now it was still, as though the very air had been stolen away. Delegates from 100 empires sat frozen, their eyes fixed on the empty screens where the human commander had spoken only moments ago. His words still echoed inside their minds, not fading, not softening. Each syllable felt carved into stone. "We claim our place," he had said, and the council could not answer. The high speaker's crystalline body flickered, cracks spreading across his surface like fractures in glass. His staff trembled in his hand for the first time in his long reign. He did not know what to say. Every speech, every threat, every declaration felt meaningless now. One delegate, a reptilian warlord with scales of bronze, opened his mouth, but no sound came. His throat locked, his eyes dropped to the table, as though ashamed. Another, a winged ambassador from the southern stars, tried to rise, but her wings drooped. Her body heavy, she could not lift her head. Across the galaxy, leaders watched the broadcast replay in silence. Armies that had once sworn to destroy humanity stood still. Merchants who had mocked Earth now shut their markets. Children in far colonies whispered, "The humans have shadows for ships. The humans have silenced the galaxy." On the floor of the council chamber, only whispers moved. "What do we do?" one voice muttered. "If we resist, we are erased," another hissed back. "If we bow, we lose our pride." But even the word pride felt small, fragile, useless against the memory of an erased battleship. The high speaker struck his staff weakly against the floor. The sound was hollow. His once brilliant glow had dimmed. "We must decide," he whispered, his voice cracked. For centuries he had spoken with thunder, but now his words fell like dust. No one answered. The silence grew heavier. It was not forced by weapons, not demanded by threats. It was a silence born of fear. The galaxy had mocked humanity, and now humanity had spoken, and the galaxy had no words left far away. On the bridge of the human flagship, the commander watched. His crew monitored the council chamber. Their screens displayed alien leaders sitting in stillness, trembling. "They understand," one officer said softly. The commander nodded. "Yes, they do," but he did not smile. His voice carried no joy. "Only wait." This is not victory, this is truth. For too long they believed silence meant weakness. Now they know silence can mean power. In the council chamber, the silence deepened. Hours passed, yet no resolution came. No speeches, no arguments, nothing. For the first time in history, the rulers of the galaxy could not agree, could not even pretend. They sat trapped in their own fear, their voices stolen by the memory of shadows. Whispers spread among the lower delegates. Perhaps it is better to give them what they want. A seat at the table, a place among us, others hissed. A seat is only the beginning. Once the humans sit with us, they will rise above us, but no one shouted. No one demanded, for even in their whispers, they feared being heard in the vast chamber. The high speaker lowered his staff. His crystal body dimmed further. His voice faltered as he finally admitted, "We are powerless." His words fell heavy. For centuries, no speaker had ever said such a thing. And still the humans did not fire again. Their fleet remained motionless, black mountains of silence beyond the stars, watching, waiting, patient. Their lack of movement spoke louder than armies, louder than empires, louder than every voice in the chamber. The galaxy had fallen into silence, and in that silence, the council understood the truth. The humans had already won. A new order of the stars. The chamber lights of the Galactic Council glowed faintly, casting long shadows across the delegates. No one had spoken for hours, no one dared to. The silence hung like a chain around their necks, heavy and unbreakable. Finally, the high speaker, dim and cracked, rose slowly. His staff trembled in his hands. His once brilliant voice was now a whisper. "It is decided," he said. His words carried no strength, no power, only surrender. "Humanity will be given a seat among us." The chamber did not erupt with cheers or arguments. There was no applause, no protest. Instead, the silence deepened. Every delegate lowered their head, their pride broken for the first time. The council gave without demand, they yielded without a fight. Across the galaxy, the news spread. On distant worlds, ordinary citizens spoke the words in disbelief. The humans sit with the council now, on war-torn colonies. Soldiers muttered. The shadows forced them to bend. In the great trade hubs, merchants whispered, "Humanity has become untouchable." And above all of them, the fleet of shadows drifted, still watching, still silent. Their black hulls swallowed the starlight, unmoving, unreadable, like gods waiting beyond the edge of mortal understanding. Inside the human flagship, the commander stood with his crew. The message from the council reached them, a single sentence granting humanity a seat, a place that had been denied for generations. "It is done," one officer said softly. The commander nodded. "Yes, but remember, this is not their gift, this is our claim." He turned his gaze to the stars. "We did not rise because they allowed it. We rose because we demanded it. And the galaxy will never forget." On Earth, bells rang across the cities. Humanity celebrated, not with arrogance, but with pride. Families who once looked at the stars with longing now looked with ownership. Students repeated the story in classrooms. The day the council fell silent. But in the alien empires, fear remained. Leaders who once mocked humans now whispered warnings to their children. Do not anger the shadows. Captains of war fleets avoided human borders. Merchants rerouted their paths. Every empire carried the memory of that silence. The galaxy itself seemed to change. Where once laughter had filled the council, now hesitation lingered. Where once arrogance ruled, now caution lived. Humanity had not fired a war of conquest. Humanity had not burned worlds. Instead, they had silenced them all with one truth. That power was not in noise, but in silence. Years later, historians would write of that day. They would describe how the galaxy shifted without blood, how empires trembled without battles. They would call it the day shadows spoke, the day silence ruled, the day humanity took its seat. But for those who had seen it, for those who had felt the fear crawl into their bones, it was something else entirely. It was the day the galaxy learned never to underestimate humanity again. In the void, the human fleet turned slowly. Their mission complete, they drifted back into the darkness, their black hulls fading into the endless night, like giants returning to sleep. Yet the memory of their silence would never fade. The council had been silenced, the galaxy had been reshaped, and humanity had carved its name into the stars forever. That day was remembered in every tongue, in every story, by every people. The day humanity's dark matter warships silenced the Galactic Council. And from that silence, a new order of the stars was born.